Hello, Olive Sector, Tailspin here. I want to talk a bit about defense and defending your empire and preparations for defending. But before I do that, I do want to say that I believe that the best defense is offense when it comes to planets. I believe that since I am in a defensive mode for the majority of this game, that I have already lost this game. I believe that because you all are going to dictate where the battles are going to happen, that I've already lost this game. So I really believe that you need to be on the offensive. You need to attack. Otherwise, you don't know where they're going to attack. You don't know how they're going to attack. And there's not a whole lot you can do to stop them. So be aggressive. So defending, I'm looking at one planet here with a starbase. But one thing you can do is build your defense posts on your planet for defense. Don't do this in the early game. You don't really need this unless you're under attack by probes or scouts or something like that. You don't need the defense because you need the money for other things like mines, factories, and building ships. So you can do that. And when you have a starbase there, the other thing about defense posts is really you don't need a lot. Because even, 87 defense posts I have here, this little ship with 4 disruptors and 4 torpedo launchers can still take it out. So there's not really a whole lot of point in putting them up that high, except to damage and absorb fighters and stuff from people attacking you. The higher the defense, the more torpedoes they use up, the more fighters. So that is good that way. But in the early game, definitely don't do that. On your starbase, you can build your defense and your fighters. Again, don't do this early game. You need that stuff for building ships. Only if you have to. And one thing you can do in your starbase is put your beam tech up. So right now you can see, because my defense is 200, I'm going to have a combat mass of 387. That's also affected by these planetary defense posts. I have 10 heavy blasters, I have 14 fighter bays, and 9 fighters. If I had built more fighters, I need to get Molly there so I can have more fighters. I would have more fighters. So and you notice my beams are heavy blaster, but if I go to my beam tech and I boost it up to 10, and then I go back to my defenses, you can see now that the amount of whatever amount of beams I have, they match the beam tech of the starbase. So that's an important thing to remember. I actually often forget that. So yeah, you can boost the defenses of your planet and your starbase. You can build more starbases. Be careful not to build them on planets that have just a few clans, because be careful about building defensive starbases over planets with a few clans, because races like the fascists and the lizards, they can do their ground attack and outnumber you and kill you. Well, even like the birds, any race that can cloak, or even if they're trade for cloaking ships, they can take those over, drop clans, and steal your starbase. So you need to make sure there's enough clans on there to protect your starbase. Although it is very difficult to defend against the lizard ground attack. It's very powerful. Your defense posts do help your clans to defend against ground attacks, so that's another thing that goes together. Another thing you can do to prepare to defend is arm your ships, of course. Load them with torpedoes, load them with fighters. I don't like to do this too early. If you do it early in the game, if you're spending all your money on building fighters and torpedoes and your resources, you do not have enough to build ships and starbases, and you need to do that to be more competitive later on in the game. But since I'm under attack, I know they're coming. I got Virgos and Gorbies and fascists and privateers and robots. I have everybody coming at me. I need to get my ships ready to fight, so I'm arming them. Another thing you can do, which I do, should I say, I don't know if it's the best thing to do, but attack strategic planets and control strategic planets and harass strategic planets. So you can notice I have a whole bunch of red and blue circles around. I did that because the red circles have large quantities of fuel. So there's another one, 11,000 over here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 field planets, 2 field planets here, 2 here. I have this little task force trying to take out this field planet, and hopefully, I don't know if that'll happen, but we'll see. But you control and harass and take out these field planets, then they have no bridge to get here. They need to bring in their own fuel from, their back lines. They have to bring it forward and then move forward. Unless, of course, they're colonies and they can make their fuel. But so I did actually have control of a few field planets over here, although I seem to have lost those from the Federation. But so control those fuel planets. And again, this is a mentor game, so there are a lot more fuel planets and bovinoid planets than regular games. So, in a regular game, there might be 1, maybe 2 fuel planets over here, not 4. There's not going to be 4 down here. There's going to be 1 or 2. Generally, there's always exceptions. But if you control the fuel, the other thing I circled, the blue circles are bovinoid planets. Again, mentor game, there's a lot of bovinoids, but these bovinoids are planets that can get going quickly. All I have to do, this planet here, 9 million bovinoids. I bring 1,000 clans there, and I'm pumping out supplies and money like crazy, and that planet will get going pretty quickly. So those are kind of strategic planets as well. Maybe the money planets, but definitely the bovinoid and the fuel planets are strategic planets that are on the way to your territory that you need to take those out. Another thing you can do is hide in warp wells if they attack you. And that's what I'm doing here. I'm fleeing from this Virgo that's chasing me. And before he attacked, I moved into the warp well so I didn't lose my ships. It's annoying. And I'm actually wasting his time because he's chasing me with this huge Virgo after these tiny little ships that aren't worth anything. So that's a good tactic to use quite often. I should really have talked about warp wells a bit more, but you can travel around in them at warp 1. If you go any higher than warp 1, you get sucked to the planet, into the planet's gravity, and pulled to the planet. And they have to chase you at warp 1, which means it's very difficult to catch them. You usually have to have 2 ships come at them from 2 directions to catch a ship in the warp well. And you want to make sure your ships have the right primary enemy set. You want to make sure they have a battle order, which ship's going to go first. Maybe you put a numerical 1 on this guy so he fights first. Those are things you have to really think about when you're defending, and which is what makes it very difficult to defend, because you don't know what ship they're going to attack with. You don't know what's going to happen. So it's hard for you don't know who's going to attack. So if I put primary enemy fascists or Solar Federation and the fascists attack me, then my ship won't fight. So those are things you need to think about when you're setting up for defense, but you don't want to be in that position. And I would prepare counterattacks. I'm already kind of counterattacking before you've attacked, but because I have no choice. But in a real game, will probably only have one person coming at you, and chances are they don't have as many ships. So they're going to come in, and you can prepare to strike back at them or hit them in a vulnerable spot. One other thing you can do is Scorched Earth. So if you go to the guide section in the how to play and you go to other guides, there is a good guide on Scorched Earth. And it gives a lot of ideas of how to do Scorched Earth. And generally speaking, Scorched Earth is just destroy everything that the enemy might be able to use. So on this planet, I want to get rid of all the resources on it. I want to waste all the supplies. I want to waste all the mega credits. You can do things like spend them on star bases and mines and all kinds of things like that. So whatever you want, whatever you can do, just destroy the resources and really tick off the natives. So I have these natives here. If I just manual tax it and crank it up as high as I can, it'll go way below zero, and they will be very, very angry, and they'll start destroying stuff, and I might even lose the whole planet myself. But when they attack it and they take it over, the natives are going to be very angry, and they might not even be able to keep the planet if they're that angry. Especially if you have amorphous natives. I don't know where I have any, but if you have any amorphous ones, really make those mad. Because once they're mad for either forever or like these ones. They're either mad forever or quite a long time anyway. That's why you never tax amorphous natives, because once they're angry, they never stop being angry. So yeah, I think those are some tactics you can use to defend. But really, I don't suggest being on the defensive. Be offensive all the time. All right, I'll see you out there.